Good morning. My name is David Sisk, and I direct the ELL programs for Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools. And in this short video, I will help you understand which of your LEP second graders would be eligible to take the CogAT in Spanish or an alternate assessment to help us determine which second grade LEP students may qualify for AG services next year. So this is the main web page. If you will go to Departments, if you will scroll down on the left-hand side of the screen, click English as a second language. Then scroll down again until you get to this link that says LEP Students and CogAT. Click here. Now, when you open this link, you're going to have four different links. The video that you're watching right now is the first link. There's an LEP Student and CogAT flow map as the second link. There's a simple letter that you can use to notify parents to give them the option if they qualify for taking the CogAT in Spanish or in another language. And there's also a template that you can use to collect the names of those students and submit the names of those students who need to take the CogAT or another assessment option in another language besides English and Spanish. So if you click on this link, this is the LEP Students and CogAT flow map. Now, we shared this document earlier last week along with a list of all of your current second grade LEP students. That list that we sent you is not exhaustive. We put that in the email to remind you. You're still going to have to check the new students who are coming from the Newcomer Center, and really the majority of the students who will qualify for that first language assessment option are the students either in the bilingual program or the students who are in their first year in a U.S. Public school. So we're going to walk you through this flow map very quickly. So first of all, the student is identified as LEP. Next, you check to see if that student has been enrolled in a U.S. school for more than 1 year. And remember, if a child is enrolled for 1 day during that school year, that counts as the first year for that child in a U.S. public school. So if a child enrolled in June of last year and then they came back to our school system this year, this is their second year in a U.S. school. So keep that in mind. So if the child has been enrolled in a U.S. school for more than a year and the student scored less than 5.0 on the most recent Access or WAPT assessment, then that child is eligible for accommodations on the CogAT. Now keep in mind there is some flexibility with the way the CogAT is administered. So the child, just by virtue of taking the CogAT, may be eligible or may be able to receive extended time, multiple testing sessions. So keep in mind you may not have to do a separate LEP accommodations document for the students taking the CogAT, just because the way the CogAT is administered does give you some flexibility. This is simply to let you know the accommodations that that child may be eligible for, those LEP accommodations the child may receive. So if you go back to the beginning, student is identified as LEP. Now these are the students that may or may not want to take the CogAT in Spanish or have another language assessment option. So the student has been enrolled in a U.S. school for 1 year or less, which means this is their first year in a U.S. public school. Now if the child scored above or equal to 4.0 on the WAPT or the most recent Access assessment, these would be students that may come from another state. However, the majority of these kids, you're going to be looking at their WAPT scores. Those kids would not be eligible for taking the CogAT in another language, and they would just be eligible for these accommodations if feasible. Now the kids that are in their first year in a U.S. school, they have a WAPT that's below 4.0 on the reading subtest, then the parents have an option. The parents can choose not to have their child assessed in the native language, in which case we will make these accommodations available to that child. If the parent chooses to have their child assessed in their native language, then that child will go ahead and take the CogAT in Spanish, and if we have other languages available in the CogAT, we will administer to them in those other languages, or we will look for another native language option, and we will work with our psychological department to determine what that option will be. But we just want to give them the opportunity to qualify for AG services in another language or through another means if necessary. So we just want to offer these LEP students equal access to those AG services. Now if you look on the left hand side here, you see students who are in the dual language or the bilingual program, and again these are LEP students who are in the dual language or the bilingual second grade classrooms. Those students are receiving the majority of their language arts instruction in Spanish. Again, you would give the parents the option. Many of those parents will more than likely choose that their child take the assessment, the CogAT, in Spanish, but you still want to give those parents the option. Okay? So very briefly, we went through that flow map with you, and I want to give you some reminders here. So how to decide if the child takes the CogAT in another language. So a very simple kind of a checklist. First of all, the child is LEP. The child is in second grade. The child is in their first year in a U.S. school. The child scores below 4.0 on the reading subtest of the WAPT. Look at the information coming from the Newcomer Center. That's where you will get their most recent WAPT information. Use the letter on the website, or if you've created your own letter, that's okay. But give the families the option of taking the CogAT in Spanish or another assessment option in their first language. Compile that list. Use the document on the website. There will not be many students that fall under that list who don't take the CogAT in English and in Spanish, but if you have a child, for example, a Chinese speaker, and they want to receive some type of assessment either in Chinese or an assessment that would help us determine if that child qualifies for AG services, then put that child's name in that document and email it to me at DTSISK. So this is a really kind of quick cheat sheet for going through that process. Now, how to decide if the LEP child takes the CogAT with accommodations. Okay, again, the child is LEP. The child is in second grade. The child scores below 5.0 in the reading subtest of the WAPT. Look at the document that we sent you last week with your access scores of LEP students in second grade. That will be a document that will help you figure out who will be eligible and who will not be eligible for LEP accommodations on the CogAT. Provide those accommodations if necessary, and note that there is some flexibility with the way the CogAT is administered. If the LEP students' accommodations are simply an option for the way the test is administered as a whole, then there is no need to do a separate LEP accommodation sheet for this child. So again, in a nutshell, that's how you go through this process. And if you go back to the ESL website, and again, this is the last link, and once you click here, it brings you to this page. You've got the video, which I'm going to post here of what you're watching currently. You've got the flow map. You've got a simple Spanish and English parent notification letter that you can use. You may have already developed your own. If you have, that's okay. And then you have a template to collect the names of the students who want the CogAT in another language besides English or Spanish. You can download that. It's in Word format, and then you can save it, and then you can send it to me. Do not put any student numbers in that document. You can put names, and you can put the languages or the language that the child chose or the parents chose to have the child assessed in. Save it and then email it to me. So my name is David Sisk. Please let me know if you have any additional questions, and we're here to help you out. Thank you.